Oh, have the mighty have fallen? Well, were they mighty to begin with? That's the question we're going to break down here. Penn State defeating Indiana
Overrated.
85-66. You already hear it in the background. It's starting to echo a little bit. The Indiana Hoosiers now 1-4 in the Big Ten. And this is the biggest question we had all year. Indiana, can they be a good team? Well, in order to be a good team, they have to have a winning record in the Big Ten. That's something they haven't had in a very long time. And they are on pace to do it yet again. So a lot of question marks from a team who was once ranked very high this season. At one point this year, we had them 13, 12, 11. We saw them even in the top 10 at one point this year. Now we're talking about them obviously as an unranked squad and maybe even a team that doesn't even get close to possibly the NIT tournament. So a lot of questions going on. And I mean, it wouldn't be a breakdown of a game if we didn't shout out to Penn State. They just couldn't miss. We're going to talk about Penn State. Don't get us wrong. But first, Steve, I know you got a lot to say. You finally have the opportunity to say so. What do you think about this Indiana squad?
Overrated. And I've been saying this all year. I don't get it. I know that Ken Palm ratings love this Indiana team.
Now, for the record, Ken Palm loves Kentucky at the beginning of the season, too. So just keep that in mind.
Right, and no, I get it. Like with a team like UConn, where they're really in the upper echelon, both offensive and defensive categories. I get why they'd have a high Ken Palm rating, but I didn't understand when you have so many young players coming into this program, and Indiana is going to be really dangerous next season and going forward. So before it's like before all the Hoosier fans start jumping all down my throat here about picking on on Indiana, you guys just have to wait one more year. I'm not sure that you're going to have the same head coach if you have to wait one more year, but you just have to wait one more year with this group of players. And that now suddenly we're having a different conversation next year about what the Hoosiers are going to be, not only on the national level, but in the Big Ten. These young players have never had to face the level of competition that they do in the Big Ten. I mean, basically, the two best basketball conferences in the country are the Big Ten and the Big 12. There's some really great teams in some of the other conferences, but really, you would have to say Big 10, Big 12 are the two best basketball conferences in the country. Indiana's learning the hard way. They're learning hard lessons. It's going to make them better basketball players if they don't lose their confidence. I don't see the coaching staff hitting the panic button. I think they're going to just keep preaching the same things in practice and in games and in huddles, saying, "Hey, look, you've got this. You can do this." But you're going to have nights. You can't. What concerns me with Indiana is that they get flustered on the defensive side of the ball. And again, I think those are youthful and inexperienced mistakes, not the fact that they're bad defensive players. They're just not used to it. I mean, Penn State had two guys with 7 3-pointers, not combined. Each of them had 7 3-pointers.
Yeah. And you look at this, if you look at the stats, Indiana only had 4 3-point shots made in the entire game as a team. Penn State had 14 more 3-pointers made against Indiana in this one. I mean, how do you even compete against this one? If you're playing a team that just can't miss from the 3-point line, and that's basically what we saw. They were 18 for 31 for beyond the arc, 58% after shooting 31 3-points. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's fantastic play. That sounds like a team that you should be talking about all season long. Right now, we're talking about a 12-5 Penn State team. If this team gets hot and continues to do this with what they're shooting, I don't know if it was just a lucky night for them. I don't think it was the case. I think we're going to start hearing a little bit more about Penn State. I'm not in the mood to talk about their next national champion. Don't get me wrong, but I think we're going to hear a little bit more about the Nittany Lions because they are a good shooting team. However, I mean, you got to find a way to contest them, and even though they were making some of those contested shots, Indiana just wasn't doing what they needed to do in this one. They were, I mean, sluggish. I mean, this is a team again that we were talking about at one point in the season that was top 10 and in all of the country. Maybe talking as could they be the best team in the Big Ten? Now we're to the point to where we're getting to the fact again, going back to the same narrative as we have been for the last few seasons. Can they have a winning record in their own conference, let alone be ranked?
I'm really starting to doubt them having a winning record. Will they maybe break even? I think that's the best that they can hope for. And again, there's so much talent on this team. We're not saying that Indiana is, a bad basketball team or the bottom dwellers of the Big Ten. No, that's not going to happen. They have too much talent to not win some conference games. And they're always going to if the matchups are favorable. Like, I think Indiana would play Ohio State well. I think Indiana would play Michigan well. Indiana's not going to play Penn State well. They're not going to play Michigan State well. They're not going to play Northwestern well. It's really going to come down to matchups. So when it's just them being able to run the court and use their athleticism, I think Indiana will do well. But in the Big Ten, there's not a lot of teams that you're going to do that. I mean, Illinois, is going to shut you down with that. So I just don't see how Indiana can right the ship. They had to come out strong in early conference play to make their statement. Watching them today against Penn State, they were literally they were lost. They were just running around. It's like when you turn the lights on and all the roaches or water bugs go scattering across the floor, because you dropped a piece of chicken on the floor and they're coming out to get it. I mean, that's really what Indiana was like. I mean, they didn't know how to come up and pressure the perimeter shots. And Penn State got hot early and they just were not going to stop shooting. I mean, it was just something that even if Penn State had gotten really cold in the second half, I don't think they would have stopped shooting those threes because Indiana was just giving it to them.
They were embarrassed by Rutgers in the beginning of December. Their only win in the Big Ten was against Nebraska. In January so far, they lost to Iowa, they lost to Northwestern, and now losing to Penn State. These are the teams that if you thought they were going to be a top Big Ten contender, some of these teams with those names are the ones you thought you were going to get those wins. Now you're heading into a game on Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS, against a ranked, number 18 ranked Wisconsin team. And now it is home, it is in Indiana, but Wisconsin's been one of those tough teams. We've seen some grit out with some tough overtime wins. They're sitting at 11-4. They're having a fantastic year so far in the Big Ten. They're 3-2 compared to the 1-4 Indiana. I mean, I don't think they're going to finish this bad, but if you want to play the pace game, Indiana's on pace to finish in the Big Ten 5-15. It's nowhere close to 500. Now, I don't think they're going to be that bad, but you have to keep put in perspective that that's what they're on pace for if you finish the next 15 games the same way they finished the first 5, Steve.
And you look at it, where are those 9 wins going to come from? And bad on me for not mentioning Wisconsin, because that's another great coaching job that we've seen in the early going here. And Wisconsin is another matchup nightmare for teams like Indiana. So I'm looking at it now. That's why I said they had to come out early. I don't see where they get to 10 wins in the comp. I just don't. And it doesn't mean that it won't be competitive games. I don't know that they get to 10 more wins in the conference, and so that puts them on the bubble for a tournament. I'm sure they'll go to the NIT. That's fine. I think that would be a good experience for the young players, but that's not what the expectations were. Certainly not from Hoosier fans, but even across national media, the expectation that Indiana was back and that they were back with the vengeance. And you got to wonder if that seat is getting warm there in Bloomington. It's unfortunate. There's been some tough breaks there, but 1 year if you don't finish above 500 in the conference, okay. Every program is going to have, and they certainly had to do some retooling and rebuilding on the fly. This has been multiple seasons now, so I'm thinking that Bloomington might be another destination that people can talk about John Calipari going to, because apparently he's coaching at least 10 or 12 teams next year. I don't know how he's doing. I don't know how he's going to do it all at the same time, but it's it could be a long year for Hoosier fans, and I'm just hoping that the coaching staff, and I think this coaching staff is geared to working with young players and getting them to buy into a program. I'm hoping that confidence does not disappear and we don't end up with the 5-15 Indiana in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that seat I think is getting warm for Mike Woodson. I think that is something that we might have to pay attention to, especially if they can't find a way to get over 500 in the Big Ten and make some noise in the Big Ten conference. I think they have to make some noise. I don't know if they ought to win the whole thing, but I think they have to really prove that they are not a team that should be doubted like we are doing right now in order to continue Mike Woodson with Indiana. I really do think if not, they need to go into a different direction. And who knows where Calipari is going to be next year? I mean, who really knows? It could be Indiana. It could be a team that it could be Manhattan for Christ's sake. So who knows what
Oh,
happens
that would
moving
be
forward?
awesome. John Calipari and Rick Pitino in the Metro Atlantic. Oh, be still in my heart. You
Yeah.
know I'm a Metro Atlantic fan. Yeah, oh, that would be awesome.
Resurrect Manhattan, John Calipari. Bring it on. No, let's make the t-shirts. Let's do it now. Let us know your thoughts in the comment description below. Hit like and subscribe while you're there. And thanks for watching SlasherU.